that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. You are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you are waking up thinking that there's got to be more to your life than it is, man, believe that it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump. You see people in life, when you're standing on the cliff of life and you see people soaring by, when you see people soaring, going to exotic places, you hear about them doing wonderful things. Maybe you look up the street and your neighbor just gets a car every year, every 2 years. You know, how is he doing that? Have you ever thought, maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift? Because your Bible says, your Bible says your gift will make room for you. Your gift, not your education. You go get an education, that's nice. But if you don't use your gift, that education only gonna take you so far. I know a lot of people got degrees, man, they ain't even using. It's your gift. But the only way for you to soar is you got to jump. You got to take that gift that's packed away on your back. You got to jump off that cliff and pull that cord. That gift opens up and provides the soar. If you don't ever use it, you're gonna just go to work. And if you're getting up going to work on a job every day that you hate going to, that ain't living, man. You just existed. At one point in time, you ought to see what living's like. But the only way to see what living like, you gotta jump. And here's the problem. Let me just be real with you. When you first jump, let me tell you something. Your parachute will not open right away. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you it did, but it don't. When you jump, it's not going to open right away. You're gonna hit them rocks. You're gonna get some skin tore off on them cliffs. You're gonna get all your clothes tore off. You're gonna get some cuts on you. You're gonna be bleeding pretty bad. But eventually, the parachute has to open. That is a promise of God. Here's another thing. You can play it safe and deal without the cuts and the tears. And you can stand on that cliff of life forever safe. But if you don't jump, I got another promise I can make you. Your parachute will never open. You'll never know. You'll never know what God really has. I was speaking at a school once. I was talking to the students. The principal was mortified with my message because I was telling the truth. I was telling the kids, your education is important, but your education is not the most important thing in your life. I'm sorry, it's not. Your dream is the most important thing in this world. Principal came up on the stage while I was speaking. Don't ever say that to my school again. Well, I'm just telling you, dog. You can save your kids a lot of pain if you ever talk to them about their dreams. You got to talk to young people about their dreams. If you talk to kids about their dreams, your dreams can spur you to get the education. But if you never find out what a child is dreaming about, you can't hold their attention. It's the dream, man. You got to dream about something so big that it dwarfs all your fears. The way you overcome fear is with your dream. You got to make your dream so big that nothing matters except that dream. You're willing to do everything that's necessary. I was listening to Will Smith the other day. Will Smith said the best things in life is on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of fear. But fear freezes people, man. The fear of failure freezes people. Suppose I don't do it. Well, you might not make it. But I got news for you. If you don't do it, you damn sure ain't gonna make it. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I talk to so many people who get older, like some of us are, and they've lost the faith. Well, faith is really simple. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. All that means is in the beginning, you just hope something pop off. You know, you just kind of hope something happen for you. I was hoping I would get on TV. I wrote it on a piece of paper when I was 10, I want to be on TV. The problem I had when I wrote it at 10 was I suffered from a severe stuttering problem. I could not talk outside of my house. So can you imagine when I wrote on a piece of paper, I want to be on TV and turned that in? The first thing the little boy next to me asked me, he 10, well, how long is your TV show going to be? Because you're going to be on TV all day. But when I wrote it on the paper, it wasn't factual. It was just hoping. You just got to start with the hope. Faith is the substance of things that you hope for. You just hope something jump. Then what happened is through grace and favor, he give you a couple of them things you hope for, and then you're supposed to start believing then. because now it turns into faith. But if you take this scripture, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Albert Einstein said that imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. That's what your imagination is. Your imagination is actually very, very real. Everything you imagine could be a preview to life's coming attraction. Everything we have today came from somebody's imagination.
We're talking about the future education, and I was taking the approach from adult learning theory and brain science, and he was approaching it from more technology and scale. And somebody who was listening asked the question saying, is there anything missing? You know, what's missing happens in theory and technology. And we were talking about it, and we came to the conclusion is understanding human motivation. Because motive matters, right? And what drives us. I always tell people that there's this success formula. I subscribe to it. I call it H cubed. That it goes from your head to your heart to your hands. Especially in the personal development space or where they teach about goal setting. You could affirm things in your head or think things in your head or visualize things in your head. But if you're not acting with your hands, there's something that's missing, right? There's an incongruency there. And what I tell people is check in with the second H, which is your heart, which is the symbol of emotion, the energy of motion. And so I feel like that's the fuel that fuels the car that gets you to take action for something. And I do believe what got me through it is figuring out what my why was, right? I don't want people to suffer the way I did. If I could do anything about it, for me, it's like no brain left behind, right? Because I live with that identity for so long. And my message to people, whether it's on stage or on the podcast or anything, is that we are more than what we're demonstrating, that we've been sold this lie, that people are taught through school. Like when I do these demos and I on stage memorize 100 names and words and numbers forwards and backwards, and it appears effortlessly, I always tell people I don't do this to impress you, I do this to express to you what's really possible, because the truth is everyone can do this too, and so much more. Applied towards creativity and focus and flow and problem solving and thinking and really overcoming the biggest challenges of their life and maybe even the world. The challenge is we were taught a lie. We were taught a lie that somehow our intelligence, our potential, our learning, our memory somehow is fixed, our creativity is fixed, our thinking is fixed like our shoe size. And what we've discovered, as you know, more even about brain science, in the past 2 decades, we've discovered more than the previous 2,000 years. And what we know is that we're grossly underestimating its capacity, our own capacity to be able to grow, to be able to contribute, to improve our intelligence and our influence and our impact. And I want to kind of pull the veil behind and just say, hey, this is about transcending. This is about ending the trance that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, that we're not this genius, and telling the truth.
The Bible, how to set goals, how to close sales, how to plan your life. You can learn so many things while you're there in your car. Feed your mind. Second thing I would encourage you to do is start reading something good every day. Did you know if you read 20 minutes a day and you're an average reader, that at the end of the year you will have read 20 200-page books, and that the average American only reads one good book a year? Think of what an advantage that will give you over the competition in whatever field you're in. Now, who does these things? Well, Mary Kay Ash of Mary Kay Cosmetics told me that she would never get in her car without a cassette that she could listen to while she was going somewhere. H.L. Hunt, worth $3 billion at his death, listened to cassette recordings until after he was 80 years old. Wallace Johnson, one of the co-founders of Holiday Inns International, over 80 years old, tells me he listens every day and reads at least 2 good books every month. Alan Bean, one of the astronauts who walked on the moon, told me that the astronauts on their way to the moon and back, and please understand, these people have the best self-images, the most clearly defined goals, the most positive mental attitude. They're the most confident, competent people as a group maybe that our country has. But these people were listening to motivational recordings on their way to the moon and back. And what a delight it is for me to be able to say that some of the recordings they were listening to were fantastic. You need to feed your mind. Now, a lot of times people say, yeah, when I'm down in the dumps just a little bit, I really enjoy listening because it gives me a lift. Well, I'm glad to hear that, but let me give you the most surprising news maybe you've ever heard. It's good to listen when you're down. But, folks, the ideal time to listen is when you're sky high. Let me tell you why. When you're down, sometimes you grab at straws. And sometimes you grab the wrong straw. Also, a lot of times, and here's the real benefit to listening, it triggers your imagination, stirs up all of the stored information which you already have in your mind, and a lot of the good ideas then come forth.
But I think some very positive signs are beginning to appear. I think we're starting to realize that we'd better remember what got us this far if we expect to go any farther. So I'm going to tell you where the word character comes from, and I'd hope it has as big an effect on you as it did on me. But first I want to just quickly mention the origins of another word that people often confuse with character, just to clarify the differences. That other word is charisma, and I think that it's often confused with character today. Charisma is derived from a Greek word meaning an ability to elicit favor in other people. It's a magnetic quality of personality that people respond to as if it were magic. Charisma is almost like a magic wand that confers power over others. But character has a very different origin. Character comes from a Greek word meaning chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. And of course a chisel is a sharp steel tool used for making a sculpture out of a hard or difficult material like granite or marble. And a chisel is also used for stripping away waste material from an object, stripping away stuff that might get in the way in order to get down to the essential thing, the thing that really matters. So in its origins, the word character isn't related to a word like charisma, which we've described as a kind of magic wand. Character isn't a magic wand, and I hope you'll remember that. You've got to chisel your character out of the raw material of yourself, just like a sculptor has to create a statue. The raw material is always there. Everything that happens to you, good or bad, is an opportunity for building your character. You may have noticed it already. In both its definition and its derivation, character doesn't refer to other people. It doesn't refer to having power over other people or getting other people to follow you or gaining favor with other people. Character is something that you have and that you are. You could be marooned on a desert island and your character would still be important. In fact, it would likely be very important in that situation. But charisma wouldn't do you any good at all. Charisma requires the presence of others, while character is all about you. Character is the person you are after you've chiseled and have gotten past all the unnecessary material to what's underneath. A really charismatic person can make people believe there's pie in the sky, or that the sky is going to fall tomorrow, one just as easily as the other. By creating these expectations, charismatic individuals can indeed energize and inspire others, or terrify and demotivate them, until the overblown scenarios are proven false and the charisma runs out. But a person of character doesn't need to be anyone's Pied Piper.
I believe in bliss of satisfaction. Have you ever bitten into like a great steak and went, oh my gosh, it's delicious? You ever had that happen, yes or no? Did it make you not want the next bite more? Or did you want it more? See, there's a part of your brain, there's serotonin in your brain. The more you celebrate your wins, you celebrate when you're here, you have fun along the way, it begins to train your brain, you want to go to the next level. But if you cheat yourself from the celebration, you cheat yourself from the joy, it's always just a grind. Eventually there's this thing called frying and burnout where your brain doesn't want to do it anymore because it's not pleasurable, it gets no dopamine hit, no serotonin hit, and it wants to stop. You have to be blissfully dissatisfied. I talk about this in one of my audios and my book. My wife's a great example of this. We're complete opposites. I'm running out of time. I'm a super aggressive achiever. My wife, I call my wife, she's easy happy, easy satisfied. If we were living in a log cabin in the middle of nowhere, but we could cuddle up all day long and kissy kissy, she'd be happy all day long. She wears jeans and t-shirts. She could care less about material things. She could not tell you within many decimal points how much money we have. I'm not even sure she knows, other than Bank of America, where any of the money is. Could care less about it. She just loves people, loves life. She's the daughter of a pastor, her brother's a pastor. She's just a happy person. And she's married to a complete psychopath. But my wife, we've been together for a long time, she's developed some, I love my wife, but I don't like her all the time. The longer, any of you that have been in a long-term marriage here, they start doing some crap, man, that you just drives you crazy. Anybody relate to that, yes or no? My wife has developed this very bizarre habit. I'm not sure how it started or where it started, but when she eats pleasurable food, she moans orgasmically. So we'll be eating lasagna at the house, kids at the table, and she just started this a few years ago, and she doesn't even know she's doing it. We'll be eating, how was school today? Great, say the prayer, and then, or like, I'm serious, or like she's eating a brownie. I'm like, that is so weird. Stop it in front of the kids. What is wrong with you? She's like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't want to even tell you, but like, it's really uncomfortable. Stop it. She's like, it tastes so good. I'm like, babe, we got it. Stop. But she doesn't know she's doing it. So my son's birthday happens. We're at this restaurant and she's hot. My wife's super hot, right? And I say that being married a long time, she's hot, dude. And so we literally walk into this place and there's some dudes checking her out, and I'm Italian, and I was in a bad mood, and you shouldn't look at my wife more than about one time, right? So these guys look at me, and my kids know, now that I've become a public person, I've gotten better at this stuff, but like, you get to look at her once, maybe twice. You turn around with a whole table full of people and come slap the shit out of you, right? Excuse my language. So these guys are looking at her a little bit too long, and they're on the edge. They didn't know it, but they're about to get slapped. They didn't, you know what I'm talking about, guys, right? They didn't know it, but it was getting close. You do it again, I'm gonna smack you. Sure enough, we're at their table next to them. Her steak comes, takes the first bite. She goes, what, am I doing it? I'm like, yes, you're doing it. My daughter's like, Mom, you're doing it. Sure enough, a few minutes later, this is embarrassing as hell. I can't even go slap these guys. These dudes are literally losing their minds, right? So we leave the dinner, we get home, we're getting ready to do what married people do after a night out. She's in the bed, and I go, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go upstairs and grab a steak. And I'm throwing this thing in this bed with us, because I've never heard you make these kind of noises before. So we're throwing this steak in the mix, right? She's like, and she literally says to me, she goes, it's just so blissful. And I'm like, that's a training, because I'm dissatisfied and you're blissful. And I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of validity. You need to learn to be in bliss as you're dissatisfied. That bliss will cause you want to take next bite, next haul, next finance. At that same dinner, my daughter said to me, hey, Dad, my daughter's pretty, like she's like me. My son's a sweetie like his mom. My daughter goes, hey, Dad, what's up with the midlife crisis? She saw the video. I go, midlife crisis? What are you talking about? She goes, come on, social media, you're growing the beard out, the tight t-shirts, you're going through a midlife crisis. And I go, you know what? You're right. I am. Here's what you don't know. I was going through a young life crisis. When Daddy was 20 years old, I was going through a crisis to get to the next level at 21. I was going through a crisis when I was 28 to be better at 29. I was in a crisis when I was 35 to be a better version of me at 36. And guess what, boo? When Daddy's 55, I'll be in another crisis before I get to 56. And that's a fact. Anybody that knows me, if you want to adopt one of my personality traits, I'm in a crisis to get to the next level.
Talk to God often. Even if you're not perfect, just talk to him every day. You don't have to be in the same faith I'm in, or you ain't got to call God the same thing I call him. But listen to me, you do have to call him, though.
The voice of truth says, do not be afraid. The voice of truth says, this is for my glory. Out of all the voices calling out to me, I will choose to listen and believe the voice of truth. And guys, I believe that's true in my life, and it's true in your life. That there's a lot of things that are calling out to you. There's shame that's calling out to you. There's not enough. There's insecurities. But I'm not as good as this person. But look at all the bad things I've done. But God, I can't get up there and speak, or I don't have a voice like Hillsong. What can I do? But then we remember the voice of truth. God's promises on my life. God's promises on your life. That I'm a child of God, a son of the King of the world, who will forever reign. I was created in love, by love, and for love. He has an amazing plan for my life. Those voices of truth would say, I'm here for a reason. I might not be enough, but I'm more than conquerors through him that loved me. So when I know I'm going to get scrutinized, I know I'll either win or lose. I know I'll be a hero or the GOAT. I also know it doesn't matter, because the God of this universe, he formed me in my mom's womb, and he said, through me you're more than enough, and I love you no matter what. And I have a perfect plan for your life. In your life, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, are you going to show the people around you your confidence in the Lord? You see, they might see it on your best day. They might see it when you leave church. They might see it when you leave Passion. Dang, I'm so confident in the Lord. It's awesome. I just got to hear Hillsong Band. I got to hear Passion. I got to hear Louis. I can express my confidence in the Lord. What about your worst days? What about your Mondays? What about when you get cut? Oh, hey, wait, that happened to me over and over again. What about when they say you're not good enough to do what you want to do? What about when you can't find that right person that you want to spend the rest of your life with? Do you still express confidence in the Lord? Because when we really want to have an impact on the rest of the world, then we're going to still have the same confidence in the Lord on our worst day that we have on our best day. You know, it was easy for me when I won championships in this stadium to say, hey, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You know, it's really hard when you get cut or you get traded or they say you're not good enough to say, you know what? I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because I'm going to still express my confidence in Him. Because a few verses later in verse number 13, we learn, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, that doesn't mean that you can accomplish anything you want. If you're 5'5", you're probably not going to be in the NBA. But it does mean wherever God puts you, wherever you're at in life, He's going to give you the strength through Him to handle it, to conquer it, because you are more than conquerors through Him that loved you. So you might think, I'm in a tough time. I don't know how I'm going to get through. But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I'm going to express my confidence in Him. No matter if I just won the championship or I'm in the basement and I'm tied up and I don't know how much longer I have to live.
See, ladies and gentlemen, we get 3 to 4 thoughts a year that if we would act on those thoughts, they could change our life. Don't say, well, I'll remember that. No, write that thought down. I got a thought today I wrote down. A friend of mine is in the hospital. His morale is low. They're talking about amputating his foot. He's got to feel very bad. So I said, you know, not only am I going to see him, but I can't be there with him all the time. I said, I'm going to create a tape for him that he can listen to that will heighten his level of morale. We told him the other night, don't go to surgery. You are depressed. Your energy level is down. No, tell him not now. Don't do it now. In fact, most doctors who have any sense of awareness don't perform surgery on patients that are in a state of fear, that don't think they will make it. They wait till they're in a different state of mind. So I said, what about making tapes for people that are facing physical challenges? I said, that's a good idea. All right. See, there are ideas that can come to you out of things that appear to be negative. I have a friend out of Chicago, just met him. He's 23 years old. And this guy, he went financially bankrupt 2 years ago, ruined his credit. Guess what he decided to do? He found a blessing in it. He wanted to restore his credit. It was very challenging, very difficult. And he realized that a lot of other people during these particular times have ruined their credit. So now he started a credit repair business. Last year, he earned over $100,000 helping people to restore their credit. I met a young lady who attends this church, that she was at her father's funeral and she was putting flowers on her father's grave, and she looked around and saw the other grave sites. They did not look well groomed and they were not attended to on a regular basis. She started a grave site maintenance business. Out of that tragedy, something positive has come out of it. And now she's earning more money doing that than on her present job. What idea are you sitting on? Write your ideas down. And then, what idea are you sitting on? Write your ideas down. And then, once you get that idea, take the leap. Hello? Take the leap. See, a lot of people get the ideas and just walk around with them. Have you ever had an idea and all of a sudden you looked around and somebody had that idea and gone with it? Think you're going to be going with my hospital idea. Forget that, buddy. We will be out there together, Jack. Take the leap. See, it's out here in the universe. If you don't take the plunge, I guarantee you, somebody else will. Take the plunge. Go into action. And ladies and gentlemen, you will be surprised at how things will come together. You'll be surprised. Now, you're going to have some difficult challenges. I can tell you that now. Be aware of that. Things are not going to work out exactly right. For a time, they will, sometimes. And that's when life is just playing a game with you. I want you to feel good and relax. And then after a while, say, okay, the honeymoon's over now. And then life will come over there and slap you side the head. Say, what you doing out here? Well, this is my dream life. Is that right? Come over here a minute. Oh, you went to the seminar, huh? Come here. I can tell you that. But ladies and gentlemen, go into action with your dream. And don't avoid where the fights are. Get in the midst of the fight. And get some hickeys on your head. Get knocked down so you can learn how to fight, so you can hold your position. See, most people don't get out in the arena of life because they don't want to fight. Most people don't get out there because they don't want to get knocked down. They don't want to be dropped to their knees. But see, you're going to be dropped whether you're on the field or whether or not you're sitting on the sidelines. You're going to be dropped. So at least get dropped for something. Don't get knocked down while you're sitting down. See, that's how most people are spectators in life. You don't want to be a spectator. You want to get out in the field where the action is, and you will be amazed. After the struggle, there will be a calm period, and things will begin to click for you. Come out here with what you got. You don't have enough money? Don't worry about it. You got the dream. You got the idea. You don't have enough resources? Don't worry about it. You need some help? Don't worry about it. You get out here in the arena, someone will look at you and become inspired and say, hey, can I help you? But if you're sitting up on the bleachers, nobody's going to ask you anything. You've got to get into the flow of action. Frances Harth called me from Chicago. She had been sitting on an idea of a show that she wanted to produce for 10 years called Mind-Body Connection. So someone saw me speaking in Chicago at a sorority convention and said, I saw a guy that perhaps can host this show for you who has energy and charisma. She called me. She was so fired up. I said, listen, on the day that you want to do that, I'm speaking in Chicago. I can do it for you. And I said, by the way, I met somebody 2 weeks ago in Baltimore who has an idea of the same type of show, and she's doing it on radio. Why don't you call her? And then she called me back. Who else would you suggest? I said, well, I know Deepak Chopra. He wrote the book called Quantum Healing, and Bernie Siegel. Could you get his number? I tell you what, I have a friend named Jack Boland at the Church of the Day. He knows how to get in touch with him. Call him, and he will give you the number so you can get in touch with Bernie Siegel. That lady started calling all around. Did not have the resources, but she had this idea and dream. And she said the other night when she came before the audience that had gathered in the studio, she said, I feel like I've been pregnant for 10 years.
And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. He says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. And he said, it'll all change for you. Shoaff said, here's the secret, Mr. Rohn. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. If you would have known me at age 25, you would have said, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. If you'd have known me, you'd have said that. I'm the guy, I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late, I don't mind that. You'd have said, well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. You say, well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket and nothing in the bank and behind on his promises? Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you'll learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, give you tonight to think it over. And start this whole process of personal development, work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income. And economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job.
The thing that really, really helps is I've learned about the perspective to change my perspective. So for example, I show up to give. And I always remind people that the most important thing about being an effective presenter, an effective speaker, is you have to show up with a giving attitude. You have to show up to give. You know something, you've seen something, you've done something, you've tried something that someone else thinks others need to hear. That's why they invited you to speak. The problem is the number of people who show up to take, to get. And you can see it. It's very plain to see. People ask a question and they say, you'll have to buy my book. Or you could just tell me the answer because you know the answer because you wrote the book, right? But clearly they're trying to drive book sales. It's a taking mentality. Every single slide of their PowerPoint has their Instagram, their email, their website, their Facebook. Well, clearly they want you to follow them. They want you to reach out. The last slide is their website and their email, right? They have a taking mentality. They come up and the first thing they do is tell you their credentials. Hi, my name is, Dr. Blah-de-blah. I have 6 PhDs. I've worked for 55 companies. I advise CEOs and generals. And let me tell you a little something. It's about them. It's very easy and very quick to discern who's the giver and who's the taker. The best speakers, 100% of them. You look at all the top TED folks, Sir Ken Robinson, Amy Cuddy, Brene Brown, right? Dan Pink, all of them. All of them are there to give.
You were like your neighbor, when in fact you're exactly who you're supposed to be. What you don't realize is half the time your neighbor is wishing they could be you. They see all the good things about you. Do you? What would happen if you would start loving yourself, accepting your gifts, not beating yourself up for mistakes, not down on yourself because of weaknesses? Stay positive towards yourself. Most of us wouldn't criticize other people. You wouldn't go up to that person sitting next to you, say, you sure don't look good today. Those clothes don't do anything for you. You may think it, but you wouldn't say it. Why are you criticizing yourself? When you criticize you, you are criticizing God's creation. You might as well look up and say, God, you didn't do a very good job on me. He doesn't make mistakes. Don't say another negative thing about yourself. I'm so undisciplined. I can't do anything right. I don't have a good personality. I'll never lose this weight. Never break the addiction. Zip that up. Quit being against yourself. You don't need another enemy. Be as good to yourself as you are to others. Be kind to yourself. Be merciful to yourself. Be loving to yourself. When you wake up in the morning, look in that mirror, instead of saying, oh man, I'm getting so old. Look at all these wrinkles. It's all downhill from here. Try a different approach. Good morning, you good-looking thing. I'm made in the image of God. I'm a masterpiece. I have royal blood flowing through my veins.
Let me explain this part about investors. We have one of our investors, a $5 billion fund from New York, Atalaya Fund, okay? Oscar de la Hoya is another one. Gabriel Brenner is another one, okay? Here's how investors look at you. They first look at you, they say, wow, he's so impressive. Then they give you money based on this. They don't give you money based on your personality. They give you money once they see this. So all the A-type personality, the excited, big, machismo, all those guys, if you don't pay attention to this, forget about valuation. You may look good because you made a few sales, you're not building value, okay? Operations is constantly figuring out, like you make a list. You make lists and say this job, this job, this job, this job. I'm doing 7 different things right now. Why am I doing these 7 different things? I need somebody that helps me with this. I need somebody who helps me with this. That's operations. Biz dev. What's biz dev? Okay. Relationships. So strategic partnership. Finding somebody that if I help you, you win here and I win here. You give me clients. I give you clients. We cross-pollinate. Everybody wins. Strategic partnerships. Biz dev. That means you got to shake hands. So do you make a list and say, who would benefit from what I'm doing right now? Who can I help that I also need their help? This is the part where you got to go out there and shake hands. Whatever industry you're in, there's annual conferences. There's annual conventions. Whatever industry you're part of, you got to go to them. You got to go to them and get ready. Shake hands. Shake hands. We have our own. And by the way, the insurance industry, just so you know, you name me one product in the world more boring than life insurance. Let me say this one more time to you. I'm in the industry. You name me one product more boring than life insurance. Hear me out, guys. What I do for a living is we talk about dying every day. Listen, we come to you, and the moment the word life insurance comes up, what do people do? A guy came up here with a camera in my face. He says, hey, Pat, what do you think about the PNC and insurance future in the industry? What do you think is going to happen to PNC and insurance? I said, it's a big difference. He said, no, it's not. It's insurance. I said, no, believe me, it's a big difference. Why is it a big difference? He was at this event like 6 hours ago. He says, what's the big difference? I said, it's a law to buy auto insurance. It's not a law to buy life insurance. It's a choice. And life insurance always has to be what? Sold. I have to come sell it to you. No one wakes up and says, babe, I feel so good about buying some life insurance today, babe. Let's go get some life insurance today. Oh my gosh, no one does that. So I have to find a way to get to you, right? So we go to these conferences and we shake hands and we build relationships and we see new products, new things coming out, new relationships. And some of the people you shake hands with, then you build business, build relationships. By the way, this is all manual. For instance, if I work for you, I was talking to this gentleman right here. He's based out of New York, I believe, right? You're based out of New York. Him and I are talking outside. Great questions he's asking me at Wolfgang Puck. By the way, one thing about Sil and Albert, I gotta tell you guys, like, this is an absolute world-class event from the moment I came here to now. Everything about their treatment. Give them another round of applause for a phenomenal job these guys have done. Seriously, unbelievable. So he comes up to me. We start talking. What do you do? I got 50 salespeople. Is it this company? No, but I know about that company. And we're going to kill that company. Awesome. So do you have a manual? What kind of manual? Is there a manual that if I come and work for you, you can give to Albert, that Albert can teach me the process, sales flow of selling a product in your company? No. Are there scripts that I know for a fact you can pass it over to me? Yes, no. All of that stuff is down here. It's good, but it's not.
you